Why do you get so dizzy, and why can you sometimes even faint if you're not careful with strong breathing techniques?
What is up, guys? Today I'm going to react to a video on the channel Michael Bijker. I think he's from Holland. Mind, body, breath, wherever you are. So this video is titled, Why Do You Faint During Breath Work?
There's different types of breathing techniques. In some breathing techniques, you breathe more than you actually need. This is hyperventilation.
The definition of hyperventilation, breathing more than you need.
In other techniques, you breathe a bit less than you actually need. This is called hypoventilation.
Hypo is under. Hypoventilation means breathing less than you need. So breathing what you need in freediving is called tidal breathing. So everything more than tidal breathing is hyperventilation. Everything less than tidal breathing is hypoventilation.
When you're doing hyperventilation, breathing more than you need, you're gassing off, you're releasing a lot of carbon dioxide out of the body. Normally, the levels of oxygen are already quite saturated in the blood. It's already around 96% if you breathe normally.
Oxygen saturation between 95 and 99%.
But if you breathe much stronger, it will go up to about 98%, sometimes even 99%, but not more than that.
In previous videos, previous commentary videos I've made, the question was, can deep breathing, hyperventilation, increase the oxygen saturation in your blood? And the answer is no. Actually, the answer is yes, with maybe 1 or maximum 2%. So yes, you can bring it from 96 to maybe 97, maybe 98%. And the question is this significant? I mean, is this the reason why we're going to do deep breathing if you can only bring it up with like 1 or 2%?
So when you're doing hyperventilation, you cannot really bring a lot more oxygen into the body. But what happens is that you bring a lot of carbon dioxide out of the body.
When you hyperventilate, you're exhaling, expelling CO2, carbon dioxide. So the levels of CO2 in your system are lowering when you hyperventilate.
Carbon dioxide makes the blood more acidic. It brings down the pH level. When the pH level of the blood is a bit lower, it means the blood is more acidic. There is more CO2 in the blood. And the hemoglobin on which the oxygen is attached.
The hemoglobin is the red protein in the red blood cells that can grab, if you want, oxygen and transport it throughout our system. And then it has to release that oxygen so that the oxygen can be distributed throughout the different body parts, the different tissues of our body.
And transported through the body and then released into the cells. The hemoglobin needs a bit of acidity for the oxygen to be released.
What happens when you hyperventilate? The acidity goes down. So hemoglobin doesn't have that much acidity anymore. Hemoglobin needs acidity to be able to release the oxygen. When we hyperventilate, we are expelling CO2, less acidity, more alkaline blood, less acidity. So basically, by hyperventilating, you are inhibiting the work of the hemoglobin to release the oxygen into your system.
So therefore, if you hyperventilate a lot, you bring a lot of carbon dioxide out of the body, the blood becomes more alkaline, less acidic, and therefore it's harder for the O2, for the oxygen to be released into the cells.
Guys, if you're enjoying this video so far, then please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell. When you hyperventilate and you're expelling all that CO2, you are getting rid of the natural alarm clock, but that is not all. No, worse, or maybe at the same level, I don't know if it's worse, you are inhibiting the distribution of oxygen throughout your system. So by actually hyperventilating, you are creating a situation in which there is less oxygen available for your body.
Now another point, what happens if you hyperventilate, if you bring carbon dioxide out of the blood, there is what's called vasoconstriction. So all the veins in the body, all the capillaries, all the small veins, they start to contract.
Vasoconstriction is the narrowing of the blood vessels in the extremities of your body, like your fingers, like your toes, but it can also be the blood vessels around your brain, and that's why you might feel this, have this tingling sensation.
Also the bronchi, the lung tubes, everything starts to contract a little bit. It's almost as if the body is saying, okay, wait a minute, what is happening? Too much gassing off of too much breathing is happening. We have to shut things off a little bit. We have to decrease a bit the flow of blood. So everything tightens up. This is called vasoconstriction.
So why are we talking about hyperventilation when I am actually reacting to a video that is titled, "Why do you faint when you do breath work?" Well, because breath work is hyperventilation. Most breath work is hyperventilation. So when you go to a breath work workshop, most likely you're going to do deep breathing. And everything that is more than normal breathing is hyperventilation. So deep breathing is per definition hyperventilation. So breath work is hyperventilation.
When you're doing hypoventilation, very calm and slow breathing techniques, and the CO2 levels go up a little bit in the blood, which means the blood becomes more acidic, which also means that it's easier for the oxygen to be released from the hemoglobin, and also there's vasodilation.
This is just wonderful, right? What a contradiction. So when you breathe less than you need, you are increasing the CO2 level, so you're getting a higher urge to breathe. You're increasing the acidity, which actually helps the hemoglobin to release oxygen into your system. So by breathing less than you need, you are creating a situation that your body understands, I'm going to send more oxygen through my body. Wonderful.
Vasodilation means that the veins and the capillaries, they open up a little bit. The bronchi, everything opens up a little bit to increase the flow of blood.
And besides the fact that underbreathing, so hypoventilation, creates that situation that you get more oxygen, it also triggers the vasodilation, which is the opposite of the vasoconstriction. So hyperventilation causes vasoconstriction, and underbreathing, hypoventilation, causes vasodilation, so you have a bigger flow of blood.
And the transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide.
Why do you feel dizzy or sometimes even faint when doing strong breathing practices?
Now, it's very good to understand why do you get so dizzy, and why can you sometimes even faint if you're not careful with strong breathing techniques. As I explained in a lot of times, never push your limit. It's not about feeling very high or spaced out, or this is absolutely not what these techniques are about.
And unfortunately, that is what is happening in lots of breathwork courses. Yeah, some breath gurus, they make their students hyperventilate, and of course then you have all these effects of hyperventilation like vasoconstriction, and you start feeling this tingling feeling, and if you don't understand what this is, you might think like, wow, this is great, this is I'm getting into another dimension, but it is really not. So you have to understand what is going on there. It is simply the blood vessels that are narrowing down, and it is inhibiting a normal blood flow.
It's learning to do enough to feel like you're opened up, to feel that you have unblocked some things. Because it's really not good for you if you start to really feel super dizzy or even start to faint. Let me explain why. You know now that when you're hyperventilating, you bring a lot of carbon dioxide out of the body. The blood becomes very alkaline. There's vasoconstrictions, all the veins and the capillaries, also a lot around the brain, they all start to contract.
Hyperventilation, if you hear the man Michael explain this, it's obviously not a good thing.
The alkalinity of the blood makes it very hard for the oxygen to be released from the hemoglobin into the cells. So what you're actually doing is you're depriving your brain from oxygen when you're hyperventilating a lot.
No, you cannot hold your breath so many times longer after hyperventilation. For beginners maybe, because you don't know how to deal with the urge to breathe. But once you have a certain level in breath holding, once you understand what is going on, then you know that the urge to breathe is merely a higher level of CO2, and you know that that is not a reason to abort the breath hold. So when you are a bit experienced in freediving, just a little bit, when you've been watching my channel for instance, then you have to understand that hyperventilation is not the way to go, because you're depriving your brain from oxygen.
Some people think like, when you're doing hyperventilation, you bring so much oxygen into the blood and into the body that you start to really feel very spaced out. That's not the case at all. As you know, you cannot bring much more oxygen into the blood than you normally already have. It's about the carbon dioxide level. You bring a lot of carbon dioxide out of the blood becomes very alkaline, it becomes really hard for the oxygen to be released into the cells, and on top of that, you're depriving yourself from the blood flow, from oxygen, because there's not enough blood flow to the brain.
Can it be any worse than this?
So you're actually starting to feel dizzy and faint because your brain doesn't have enough oxygen. So that's why you can even start to faint. And if sometimes people do, it is really not a good thing. Really not a good thing.
If you want to know more about hyperventilation and specifically 5 reasons why not to hyperventilate, then please watch this video here, and that is it. Peace in every breath.